failure of what the State Department was doing. That everything was aimed at short-term goals, something that one could give to the press. And I think that's a prevailing attitude, is what can be accomplished in a short amount of time that then we can tell the American people about. I mean, and ironically, I mean, I kept waiting for this guy to apologize to the Iraqi people for what he had done, because he had mismanaged money, everything. And his book was called "We Meant to Do Well," which I found absolutely insulting, because, and the other thing was he would not name any names. And the reason that the person who was interviewing him said, "Why won't you name any names of any of the contractors or American military personnel that you worked with who helped you sidestep and set up phony things that were going on?" And he said, because my publisher tells me I could get sued if I name names. And I was infuriated even more that here, he wanted it both ways, you know. He wanted to say that we never really accomplished anything. He talked about establishing a small factory to process chickens. But they could never get the factory working. But they wanted to bring in news people to see the factory working. So the day before, they would get a whole bunch of local Iraqis to come in while they brought chickens, processed chickens from somewhere else. It was crazy. It was surreal. And yet he participated in this. I mean,
you must. I could talk for hours about this one. I mean, and you know, it sounds like you read my manuscript. I mean, this is what my book's about. Our PRT partners, it's 16 people. I mean, our brigade was 4,000 soldiers, and there were 15 people from the State Department who we were supposed to hand the whole lore over, because this is the end of combat operations, right? We're supposed to be, you know, handing this flaming bag of something to the State Department so we can slap high fives and get on a plane and leave Iraq. And you know, you know, I apologize in advance if there's anybody in here who's worked for state before, but frankly, the State Department did not want to be in Iraq. There were a great number of people in the State Department who fundamentally disagree with why we went, what we're doing there, and its prospects for success. So they could not get State Department to go. But yet the president is in great numbers. So there were some great State Department folks I worked with who were doing yeoman's work, but very few. So to bridge this gap, because the president said we want to increase the number of PRTs, we want to increase the civilian effort, they just went around the country and put out job ads. And some people they got were just amazing. I worked with a guy, Michael Boyle. He lost his arm in Sharqat, Qatta district in a bombing. He went home, got a new, got a prosthetic arm, healed, and came right back to Iraq. I mean, just an amazing American. I'm proud to know it. And he had a lot of knowledge and experience in city planning, and so he brought that to bear. But for every one of those, you got a nutritionist. I have nothing against nutritionists, but she's supposed to be advising the Department of Health, the Ministry of Health, for an entire province, about running 20, 30 hospitals. And, they're just completely overwhelmed and completely under-resourced for the task. Yet, the Army is told, give them the war, and, you object, and they tell you do it anyways, and then you salute the flag and you do your best to make it happen by helping them and empowering them. But at the end of the day, some hurdles are just insurmountable.
I don't want to dominate all these questions, but I also have some questions.
Please.
What, in your opinion, I very much appreciate what you're saying about that there